Hi everyone, this is Beth Turner here on the Huddle, and today I'm with John Connelly, the Group CEO of Interblock. John, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So, you spoke on the Huddle at the start of the year, and you spoke a lot about upcoming shows around the world in Asia and Europe and places like that. Now that you've been to those shows, what would you say were your biggest takeaways from those events?
Yeah, I think, depending on where you are around the world and which show you're attending, there's different takeaways for me personally. Asia obviously is really taking off. A lot of interesting things happening over there with Macau, with the caps on the number of units they can have on their floor. There's a big transformation on where the players are playing and how the casinos are running their businesses, and that's directly impacted us. I think, electronic table games are definitely um, trending upwards in Asia at the moment for a lot of reasons, whether it be caps on machines or player appeal. New markets being discussed in Asia for the first time in a while, Taiwan and other places that may expand or open. And then obviously Japan finally starting to seem like it's with MGM at least getting kicked off. It's going to be several years before we see anything happen. The G2E Las Vegas show was amazing this year, at least from our standpoint. Great attendance, great quality of patrons that came through the booth. A lot of innovation, exciting things happening. So, yeah, I think, and as we head into Barcelona, I think that momentum will continue.
When you go to these different shows around the world, what would you say are the biggest differences between them all?
I think, well, I think player demand, depending on the show, influences the types of products and the people attending and what they're looking for. Um, and obviously, the omnichannel discussion and the integration between online and traditional gaming is also indirectly and in some ways directly impacting what we're seeing. Um, so yeah, I think from an interblock perspective, we we tend to, with the exception probably of Baccarat and Sickbo in Asia, we tend to bring a lot of our innovation to most shows with a similar product offering because roulette is global in nature and some of our things. But overall, I think my takeaway is to keep an eye on the online omni-channel discussions and what's proliferating in those areas and affecting our product roadmap. Um, but for Interblock, we have so much going on at the moment. I'm just trying to keep my head around our company and let the customers and players decide.
Absolutely. And I know it's been a big year for Interblock. I know when you spoke on the Huddle earlier this year, you said that you were going to take Interblock online by the end of the year. Now it's actually getting pretty close to the end of the year now. We've got maybe 6, 7 weeks left as of recording until the end of the year. How far along in the process are you of getting Interblock online, and how has that whole experience been for you?
So ironically, I'm heading down to Atlantic City this afternoon, and having some meetings tonight and tomorrow for that specific reason. It's been exciting. We're one of the last, I would say, major licensed suppliers in the world that is not yet online. And our strategy is a combination of a remote gaming server and live streaming. So we've acquired an RGS as Interblock, and we've partnered with another company that Oaktree Capital owns, called a Wager, for our live streaming technology. And we're on our way. I mean, whether we'll actually officially launch by the end of this year or be Q1, let's see. It's part of the discussion tonight and tomorrow. But I'd rather, go slow. I don't have to go live tomorrow. I haven't gone live in many years. I'm gonna wait to make sure we're product position and player interfaces and all the things that are necessary are in line. But excited. I mean, there's just a tremendous potential taking a company like ours and with our innovation, especially with the Amuse category we launched at G2E a month and a half ago. The interest in that portfolio and approach is as popular in the traditional gaming sense as it is in the online space, with required um, market entry for a lot of the big suppliers or operators. I'm sorry, B2C operators. So, yeah, it's something we're going to talk more about. It's taking more of our time and energy as we head into 2025, and let's see where it takes us.
Absolutely, it's an exciting opportunity for you, but I also can imagine it being quite challenging and having a lot of things that you have to overcome. Were there any challenges or hurdles that you faced that weren't really ones that you were expecting when you were taking Interblock online?
Well, we don't have 5 hours for this interview, so but the answer is yes. Every day I am constantly surprised, and we're all facing challenges. It's part of the business. So yeah, I think anybody that thinks going online with an existing company with a brand and player expectations um, is naive. I mean, I think taking our content to the online space, whether it be live streaming or RGS, and taking a traditional gaming product from a casino floor and putting it on a handheld device that's this size. You need to do it. You need to do it correctly, and the player interfaces and experience needs to be done correctly. So we're spending a lot of time on that. And like I said, the good news is we are not. Our foundation has not been online. So our foundation is traditional gaming. So we can take our time, continue to grow our core business organically, and enter into that space the way we feel necessary. Whereas other people, in some ways, are a little more challenged because they are an online gaming company and they need to continue to generate content for online. So we think sometimes slower is better. So when we finally get our content out there, it'll be done in a manner that we think represents Interblock and what our players are expecting. And yeah, with 30 years of content, it's a lot of work to get all that innovation to market. But we're hoping by the end of 2025, the majority of the content we showed at G2E this past year will be online, both from a RGS and hopefully a live streaming standpoint. So a year from now, it'll be exciting. See what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, 30 years of stuff going to takes a little while to get that all online. I can respect that, but great to hear things are getting along for you. Now, you briefly mentioned earlier, you spoke about omnichannel, and that's been a big thing for Interblock this year. As iGaming continues to grow in its popularity, how do you think it's going to develop into next year? What do you think omnichannel is going to look like going into 2025?
What the indications are is that online gaming companies are going to really try to get some of their content that they've created and innovated down to the casino floors. That's already starting to trickle in. I think, as we know, the traditional gaming suppliers have been and will continue to be aggressively trying to take their innovation from the traditional standpoint and bring it online. So we will see more and more from a content perspective, a cross-pollination between online suppliers and traditional gaming suppliers. From a B2C perspective or from a casino operation perspective in the traditional sense, the ability to retain your players from a casino as they go online and online back to a casino, I think there's going to be more emphasis on that, especially by groups such as MGM and Caesars, who have a huge advantage there. And I think we're going to see, the DraftKings and FanDuels of the world start to try and capture and retain those players as they enter out into, let's say into bars, taverns, other locations where they can retain that loyalty. So people are really working on that to create that player loyalty as players migrate around a state or a country. And I think finally we're going to see a lot of new content, such as like what I was describing earlier, the Amuse that Interblock launched. There'll be new content going after new players. And as that happens, I think, again, we're going to see the online space taking what they're learning from the traditional gaming space and what's working, and you're going to see the traditional gaming space watch online, see what's working, and bring it down there. So there's a lot of competitive tension happening at the moment, which I think is healthy for gaming. I think it's going to make gaming stronger. I think the players ultimately are going to dictate what they want, but innovation's becoming more and more, as it always has been, but becoming more a critical standpoint as to where people are putting their R&D dollars.
Mhm. And another vertical that I've noticed pop up this year in the States, and I guess all over the world, but very much in the States, is sweepstakes. They've been huge this year. And I've seen them almost like a proof of concept of the US's interest in iGaming, even though it's, relatively unregulated. I believe it's only 7 states at the moment that have regulated iGaming. What do you think that's going to look like going into next year? And how do you think that might impact the land-based sector?
It reminds me a lot, going back, I'm getting old now, but 20 years ago, when gaming was expanding in the US from a traditional standpoint, you had variations of class three gaming pop up. You had class two gaming, you had VLT, you had central determinant. You had a lot of you had a lot of regulations that people utilized to expand traditional casino gaming more rapidly. Um, and as a result, it drove the industry forward. And then fast forward to today, most of those markets now have converted to class three. But it was a mechanism by which to really, whether it be political reasons or commercial reasons, to drive the industry forward at a more rapid pace. This appears to be something similar. There's nuances to regulations and laws that are allowing people to open up online gaming across the country, whereas for all intents and purposes, the three primary states is New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Michigan in the U.S. I think this is either, it's going to force the political landscape and the regulators to address it. And as a result, it may very well expand online gaming, not sports betting, but online gaming at a much rapid pace. Time will tell, but it's interesting because the money coming out of it is massive. There's virtually no tax dollars being derived by the states, and it's getting a lot more attention almost by the week right now. So I think as we go into the next legislative session in the United States, especially after the presidential election is over, Q1 next year, I think you're going to hear a lot about it.
Sure. Now, kind of wrapping up, going towards the end of the year now, and kind of doing a bit of reflection. I kind of want to ask you directly, John, what would you say was the biggest lesson that you learned as a CEO this year?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, you know, I think one of my takeaways is that my team and the company, we've been working quite hard on obviously innovation as an organization, and it's risky. Um, you can spend a lot of money in an area, and if it's not successful, it can set you back. Um, but I think what we've found as an organization is that staying close to what we know, which is table game technology, and not being afraid to think outside the box in a calculated, data-driven manner um, has resulted in growth for our company this year that we're private, so people don't know, but our growth is over 30% year over year, which having growth at 30% bottom line year over year is something unheard of. And what I've learned is really, as an organization to take this infrastructure and innovation know-how that we have as a company, stay close to what we know, continue to look for M&A opportunities. And I think the industry is heading towards a cycle where M&A is going to be more prevalent in 2025 for capital market reasons and for just the commercial aspects of the business right now. And then, really keeping an eye on where the players are evolving. There's a lot of information out there online about gaming and players and what they want that people have missed. And when I say people have missed, I mean, I think the regulated gaming sector has missed. And I think people are becoming more aware of that. And you're going to see a tremendous amount of capital go into new forms of wagering, new forms of online gaming to attract a new demographic of player by the millions that's existed, that's been ignored. And so my takeaway is that, gaming, although it's been around for decades, in some ways, some game centuries, we really are just getting started. And I think we're going to see the industry have one of its best years ever, provided the economy, macroeconomic situation stays where it is in 2025. So it's exciting times ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I'd love to ask about Interblock and what you feel like Interblock's 2024 would be described as in one word and why that would be.
I would say this year more than ever is, hmm, I keep coming, my mind keeps going back to just the innovation of this company never ceases to amaze me. And in 2024, to have one company our size, we're not really one of the top gaming companies in the world from a size perspective, but from an innovation perspective, I think we can compete with anybody as an organization, and I think this year's really demonstrated that. And so the ability this company with 700 people to buy three companies in 1 year, integrate them, open a whole new category of gaming called Amuse relative to amusement games, take this company online, enter the HHR space, enter the Class 2 space, all within 12 months, although there was work done prior to then, but officially, really launch and go to market this year is amazing. I mean, it's staggering. And very proud of the company and everybody inside of it. And, excited to see what results come from that effort in 2025.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's been a busy year for you, but hopefully, as you said, all of that will pay off into the next year. So I've got one more for you, John, just to kind of round things out today. But as a CEO, but also as a person, what would you say is your New Year's resolution for this year?
Leap. Besides, uh, besides sleep, really, I would say, as a person, I definitely, my wife's pregnant with our fifth child, finally having that boy. So I have four daughters that are beautiful and a fourth.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So having a son and spend some time with a family, that's personal resolution. From a business perspective, really making sure that all that innovation and capital we put to work the past few years heading into 2025, the company gets to enjoy the fruits of its labor and see that success unfold. And again, whether it be in the online space or traditional gaming space, every day, I wake up and there's more exciting news coming out of the team and where the company is heading. So continue to build just a solid foundation for the future, not go too fast, make sure it's stable and enjoy the past 10 years I've had at Interblock with the team that we've built. I think that's probably one of the best things I could do.
That's fantastic. Really love that answer, John. And thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. And for everyone watching, thank you for tuning in.